What's up, I'm Jesse, and this is how I made my budget home studio. So like probably many of you, I kind of had to work with what I had in space-wise in my house. I'm in the corner side of my basement, and there was some HVAC vents coming in and around places, and the walls already obviously here. So I kind of made a plan based off of how things were already in the space. And I said, hey, I'm going to put up drywall here, close this HVAC system off. When you're working in your own house, you kind of have to work with what you already have and make the space go as best as it can, you know? I knew that I didn't want any of the HVAC noise coming into the space, so the first plan was to cut that off with the wall somehow to make sure that it wasn't like just, you know, it's an older house, so the vents are kind of loud, and I didn't want to have that in the space. So the first step was drawing up a plan on a little sticky note of what I kind of hoped for in the space. On the top of the sticky note, I put it with the speakers facing this way so that I could have the noise going lengthwise of the room, less reflection. And on that side, I wanted it to be kind of a space that I could do some video work. The first actual step of working in the space was cleaning up these walls. The walls had a bunch of glue on them from having insulation up, and they hadn't been painted in a while at all. Had some mold situations, so I had to go through, scrape. We went in and painted. We painted the floor, got everything just kind of cleaned up to start working with, you know. So that took a ton of work, to be honest, but it made it look way cleaner and nicer and brighter in everywhere. The ceiling on that side had wood, this side had wood, but no insulation up in the rafters. So I ended up putting insulation up right here because there's some bedrooms above, and I didn't want things going up if I work in the evening a lot of the times. So I wanted it to be a little bit noise proof. It is pretty thick plywoods, but you know, just some absorption as well for reflection up there was really nice to be able to add. I added a couple more aesthetic pieces around. I just put a little thing above the doorway, you know. It was just plain before, and I found this old nice piece of barn wood that was kind of around, and I put it up above it, and it actually fit like literally perfectly, so that was kind of sick. Found some little apple crates that I planned to use and put them around just to have in the space, but to kind of get a feel for how much room things would take up before actually putting up walls. So once I finished the insulation and doing some of those random things, the next actual step of the construction process was putting up walls. I went with some pretty thick, not 3/4 but 5/8 drywall, and it's fire resistant stuff. It's meant to be really thick. I thought that would help with sound deadening from things on that side. We have like a little bit of a living room space over there, and again, like I said, the HVAC system up above. That was the play for this area. On the other side, since it was just video, I didn't need it to be quite as, you know, perfect soundproof situation. Obviously anything over there is gonna come over into this side, because once I decided I'm not putting a wall right in the middle of the room, anything that was kind of on that side of the room needed to be closed off enough to keep the sound out from this side of the room as well. A couple different layered plywood with insulation behind it, obviously. There's insulation behind all of the drywall, all the plywood over there. I thought it'd just be easy and it would just be a little bit different, you know. It's nothing fancy, and that was kind of the whole point of the DIY on a budget. I wasn't trying to do anything that was like super duper expensive. I had insulation in the ceiling it's thick enough. It's not like rock wool or whatever the super nice sound insulation stuff is, you know. This is all done on a budget, you know. If I was doing it the right way, I would definitely get that super nice insulation, but to be able to fill the whole space, fill all that stuff, you know, insulate everything on a budget, I went with just regular pink stuff for now. So did the whole wall, got that taken care of, The situation with the corner was the hardest part to figure out because I wasn't sure what the best play was with the HVAC system. I wanted to make sure that I utilized all the space I could, didn't have as much reflections and weird acoustics that a corner provides in a studio, you know? But the way it is now, it's perfectly fine. It's got enough space behind in the corner that I use it for like a little bit of a stand locker. There's a bunch of mic and drum stands back there, so it's a perfect space for that. It's got a little cubby for my cables and things. It's a decent use of the space, you know what I mean? It could be better, I'm sure. Obviously, without the HVAC there, I would have just made it a straight wall all the way across and it would have been super nice, but it is what it is. So once we got done with the whole drywall situation, the next step was this ceiling situation. We had an idea to kind of put a swooping kind of thing with canvas because drop cloth canvas is pretty cheap, and to be able to have the swoops acoustically is definitely super helpful, and it looks kind of cool too. I was like looking at a bunch of different fabrics. I was looking at if I should just hang drywall or something like that, you know, and it ended up just being like, the canvas looks fine. I wanted the space to be super warm and like aesthetically just warm and comfortable to be in, you know? And I think that the drop cloth, it doesn't look expensive and fancy, but it's like, to me, it's a comfortable space. And also it is really cool aesthetically to me to have the like ballooning waves, which is helpful to acoustics too, you know? It's got enough space in there to catch a little bit of sound and stuff. It's not going to be super deadening or anything, but it's going to help with reflections. At the end of the day, it's not perfect, but it's DIY on a budget, so nothing is. Once I got that up, I ended up putting the bar in for this curtain going across. I wanted the room to be long way instead of me facing this with my speakers when I set it up. But when you have your speakers launching all the way over, there's a lot more reverberation happening. So putting this curtain rod in between was definitely helpful to be able to kill some of that reflection space. It still gets through, obviously, it's not perfect, but it does stop the reflections a lot more. So, and it is wrinkly, deadening, you know, it's definitely helpful for the acoustics, I think, to have that curtain there. It stops a lot of big reflection that you can maybe even hear in the mic right now. So after putting the curtain rod up, I started working on these little bass traps in the corner. I had the idea in the initial drawing for the bass traps, but I wasn't sure how to really play them out because I know there's a lot of different types of bass traps, and once you start getting into professionally built stuff, that's where you take the budget out of the build. So these are not anywhere professional bass traps at all, if you can even call them bass traps, really. The closest thing to it that I would call it is that there's a type of bass trap that where you tune the bass in your room, essentially, so you can use a hard surface, and depending on the size and the width and everything, it tunes different frequencies of low end in your space to be able to work a little bit better for your space. And I don't have any subs in my setup, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to have that kind of a build. So what I did was plywood squares, but it's only a half square, so it connects straight to the wall and it leaves a little bit of an opening. And then I filled the inside of each square with various rug stuff, pillows, different things to catch dampening. And if you position things right inside of them, depending on the layering, different material, the way that it picks up off of the wall reflection, getting behind the plywood, it's meant to take it and tune it a little bit, but also to act as a traditional bass trap. And I have it positioned so that it kind of absorbs a little bit of the frequencies as it comes in, because I did want to get rid of some of the gross stuff that happens in the corners. So those are on each side. Those are not perfect by any means. Again, I was in sawing, I bought the wood from Home Depot and it's not even great plywood. It's super cheapo, same as the half wall over there. So it's not great, and I'm sure I'll get roasted for it in the comments, but again, it's on a budget and I just wanted something to be there, and also aesthetically it looks nice. So, and above the bass traps, I put a little bit of a thing in the corner. I built those out of some little, let me go grab one. So I bought these super cheapo little squares on Amazon for like $30 or something like that. And instead of putting them on the wall like they tell you to do in the picture, where they put the little glue stick thing and slap it up against the wall and you get like a ½ inch of sound absorption, I actually layered them 2 or 3 deep and then put them on top of a layer of styrofoam insulation, 1.5 inch styrofoam insulation, I believe. So that's what that is. It's 4 foot by 2 foot, I believe, across, and those are in each corner sitting there. They're not on a wood frame. The right way to do it would probably to be doing it with 2x4, 2x3s and build a frame, but we're on a budget, and I thought that I was like, I don't really want to have those specifically framed out anyways, because you'd have to put like some sort of layer of dampening between them and the little bass trap corner things, because then you would just have wood rattling on wood. So I just did it like this, and I was like, it's fine. But the idea with those is as well that they sit in the corner, and there's stuff behind to absorb, and there's stuff in front as well to absorb. So it's hopefully killing a little bit of the noise that's otherwise would be going and just reflecting the crap out of the corner, especially since it is cement brick walls. There's a bajillion reflections in this room without all this stuff to be insulating. I fortunately had these baffles beforehand. I just refaced them to be able to, you know, be consistent in the look or whatever with the space. They are the actual really nice rock wool that you're supposed to be using. I should have used in the ceiling and that kind of thing. And they definitely are really nice, and I think they're probably the best sound absorption I have in the room. After that, all that stuff was pretty much the work. Yeah, it was like kind of just aesthetically laying everything out at that point. I got a carpet because cement floor reflection is stupid. I got those apple crates that I talked about earlier set up in different places. Most of them are filled up already, but there's a couple that can still be filled up with things as, you know, more space. I figured leave some space open now. You don't need to cram a bunch of stuff, fill everything right now. Might as well wait. Fill them up as we get along. But yeah, as far as the construction piece, that was as far as it goes. I just built it out with regular insulation, regular, pretty cheap drywall actually. The drywall wasn't that expensive really. You can get 3/4 drywall and it does get more expensive, but this stuff was thicker than the ½ inch, and it was like rated to be a little bit better proofing, but still pretty cheap. And again, the plywood is all almost as cheap as it gets without looking, you know, stupid. It probably looks stupid to some people anyways, but to me, I was like, it looks fine. So that's the basics of the build out. So let me know in the comments what you guys would like to know a little bit more details about. Let me know how you feel about different aspects. If there's anything that you're like, why in the world did you do that? This is stupid looking. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like all this garbage, like it and subscribe and whatnot, and we'll see you in the next video.